Alright, probably should have pulled that off before, but alright, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome back to the Double Scoop Podcast. This is episode 3. I think I said it last time, but we're just gonna roll with the Double Scoop Podcast as the name for now. Still not sure what I want to call it, or kind of how I want the show to go, but for now, I'm just gonna kind of talk over some more guitar.com articles and just kind of give my random thoughts and or opinions on what I see and any sort of insight that I can offer or valuable context that I can bring. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. If you are watching this live or later on, thanks for checking it out. I actually just brief knob shop update for everybody. I had my first in-person event, like booth vendor setup situation. There is a local coffee shop that is attached to our church, and the church is just a big warehouse, and they try to use the building as often as possible. We don't just have church there. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So they celebrated their 2-year anniversary, their 2-year birthday, and they always do a market for the local makers, and a maker can be pretty much anybody. There was a handful of bakeries. There were people that did woodworking and stuff like that. Like a couple people brought chairs or it was like a bench. There was like 2 chairs that were like rockers and a bench that the guy just made from wood. That was pretty sweet. And a lot of stuff that's made on CNC or laser engravers. And there was some jewelry, some candles, but all this stuff is like handmade. They're making it either in their house or their garage or anything like that. There was Wotown Co., which is a creative ran by somebody I know. He is super cool. Does a lot of art, a lot of different media, and so he had a couple prints. I got a print, a couple coloring books. So it was a really good time. But it was my first in-person event for the knob shop, and so I had kind of the very first iteration of what the knob shop will eventually be set up on a table. Had my amp. I have a Boss Katana, and it has it's the head, so it has a little speaker in the head, and then could do headphones. So a couple people stopped by and riffed on that. I brought my just Ibanez, low-end Ibanez guitar, and let people riff on that, run through the pedals and click them on and off and turn some knobs, and that was a lot of fun. Talked to some older gentlemen that were like, oh, I used to play, or I mess around now, and that's always fun. I love talking to people that just have a genuine interest in playing guitar. It's not about selling pedals. It's not about buying the coolest guitar. It's just about playing with what you got. And if you got something cool, even better. But it was like the one guy, I forget his name, but I'll probably see him tomorrow at church because he said he started coming, so that's awesome. But he said he had like a 1970 something, or he said he bought it in the 70s, Les Paul Custom. And that's like, boom, right after they, started bringing them back, because they made the SGs like throughout all the 60s and everything. So whenever they reintroduced them in the 70s, it was just like a whole another era for the Les Pauls coming from Gibson. So it was cool. Of course, classic old guy, sold it, regrets it. So I never want to be that person that just straight up sells something and then regrets it later on. It's not that I've gotten rid of really any gear. I sold an SG that I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I had got it from Guitar Center several years ago, but it was $500, and I threw $100 down on it just because it played super good. It was a SGJ, the 2014 model, and it had 24 frets, and I was like, oh, that's super cool. It makes it kind of unique. It played really good. It played better-ish than I have a Schecter. It played a little bit better than that, I think, or maybe it was just because I was in the moment at Guitar Center and found a $500 Gibson. Like, that was, it's not a full-fledged SG or even a standard with the bound neck or anything. It was like the bare bones, like faded cherry. And I think that one didn't come with the pick guard, and somebody had put one on there. And so it kind of just threw me off. I had zebra pickups. I hate zebra pickups, but I don't know, it's $500. So I threw $100 down on layaway and went and got it like 2 weeks later. And just liked it, never loved it, and just never gelled with it. So I sold it. And I think I sold it for like $900, something like that. I made, even through Reverb, I made money sitting it with, I had bought a case for it. Bought the wrong case for it. I bought just a standard electric guitar case instead of an SG case. But I shipped it to Texas, and the guy never said that it was destroyed. So I guess he got it in good condition. And then I bought my Edwards made by Navigator. Let me specify that so I can feel good about it, I guess. But it's a Les Paul custom, but it's a Ken... Oh, man, how am I going to say this? Ken Yokohama? That's wrong. That's the tire. He was in a punk band in the 90s, but it's his signature, and the only difference really is that it doesn't have the toggle switch because of, like, I guess playing, like, punk and whatever, your right arm's just going crazy. And so he said he would always hit the toggle switch, and so his custom that he got made just didn't have it. Like, I think he has one because he had a Navigator, like a legit Navigator, that he bought. I guess it was a Honeyburst, and he, like, the picture of it is like the toggle switch is taped down, I guess in the bridge position, because he would just strum too hard and hit it. But he always it was always delete the pickup toggle and keep both pickups. Why not just drop the whole thing and just have one pickup? I don't know. But all of his signatures had two pickups, and I found that one, I guess, a couple months after I sold the SG, and I found that one on Reverb, and a guy in the state over from me, and just went and picked it up. It was very fortuitous because we were going over there to go camping, or to stay in a cabin, not go camping. And I chatted him up. I was like, hey, I'm going to be over there. And we met in a Publix parking lot. And I gave him $675 cash. And he gave me that guitar. And didn't love the SG, but I loved that guitar. And I got to work on it because it was, I think, like a volume pot was burned out on it. So I got to, and he put Seymour Duncan's in it too. So that was super cool. Very value heavy on my end, because if you take away even just $150 for the Seymour Duncan's, I mean, I got a $500 made by Navigator Les Paul, which is awesome because Navigator makes incredible stuff. And I would love to get a legit Navigator, not just one that says, Navigator on the back of the headstock, but on the front. Anyway, all that to say, I got rid of a guitar that I didn't totally love, and I don't think I'll ever regret it. But this guy had, gotten rid of a totally sweet white Les Paul Custom, and he regretted it. And I regretted it with him. Regretted it. All right. But yeah, that was the long way to say that. I had my first in-person event and had a good time. Had some people come turn some knobs and chat with me, and I loved that. So we're going to get rolling. I guess I could do, I had an Instagram thing I wanted to show. This is the newest release from the Knob Shop. I put these together over the course of the past couple weeks to sell at the Maker's Market. A little bit of interest, but nobody pulled the trigger on one, which is fine. I'll put these on Reverb here in a little bit and roll with that and see how they do. But this is one I did on perf board and made the connections and everything with my two fingers. No printed circuits here, but it's basically a double linear power boost. It's one flowing into the other one. So basically the out that would go to the output is just flowing into the next one. They balance. It's fun. Like you can kind of dime one, pull back on one, and it's like you almost have like a post and a pre. Like you have like a pre-push, and then you can dial this down for, just to not overdrive it. You could dime both of them, or you could do like a lower end one here and then push the after circuit, almost like this one's driving this one. And then there's a gain toggle. So this switches between like a 100K, and then I don't know what happened with the down toggle. It was a 10K, and then I added like a what was it? It was a 220K resistor to the bottom, but it kind of rounded it out, but it didn't give it more gain like I was anticipating. It is a little buzzy on the bottom toggle, but the top toggle sounds awesome. Sounds great. Pretty fun to just have in the signal chain. I didn't have the pedals set up in a particular order. I just kind of plugged them all in because I was trying to get everything plugged in and kind of set up. But these are the two new ones that I released. Like I said, I'll put them on reverb, and they will hang out. And speaking of reverb, I think I showed this once, just like right when I started. But I thought this was super cool. I meant to show this, I think, last week. But it's a double neck that comes apart. Like, that's super interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Because, I think technically you could just play them separately. I wonder if, they have separate inputs, and then they just kind of fit together like a sectional, I guess. Like, you just click it and it slides down. And then you're locked in. You're ready to play double neck guitar. Super cool. I wonder how, like, weirdly balanced they are without them connected. But I just thought this was, I guess not very, because this is tilted over. Or maybe he just had to do that with how it is. But I thought this was super interesting. And I wonder if there's a way to, like, plug them together. I guess it's just they literally are two chunks of wood set together, and you have to run double output, or a double input there. Double output, double input. It's all going to the same thing. Yeah, thought that was super cool. Selling by Guitars West. Pretty pricey, but I doubt there's very many of these hanging out. Plus, it's got the parallelograms. Pretty sweet. Oh, yeah, it's got a case. Does it have a picture of the case? I guess not. With original, show us the case. Is it just a regular? I guess so. I guess it'd probably just be a regular double neck case. I want to see. I wonder if the case splits apart too. That'd be cool. All right, speaking of selling stuff, we're just going to segue our segue. Buckethead apparently is selling his Jackson. Like the OG, like I feel like everybody's seen this picture of him playing with the alien hands. But I thought it was cool. So I've visited Buckethead's site, a handful of times. Let's see, let's find the link on his site. Yeah, so I just love that it's it's literally the guitar, a picture of the guitar in the case, and then they're like, just shoot us an email. And it's like, just so, you guys can't see this. It's just a simple URL, .html file. And, it doesn't have the SSL, it doesn't have the secure thing. They're like, yeah, just shoot us an email. And then, wanted to come see the rest of his site. Because I haven't been on here in a minute, but it's literally just like stuff. This is for Star Wars Day the other day, and he just cranks out music. That's all he does, and it's cool that he's just this is what I do. I just crank out music, and that's all he wants to do. All it seems like he does, because I think he put out 300 albums in a year one time. And he does the pikes. He has so many pikes. This is funny. I wonder if he's like a fixed gear guy. Because, I guess not too many people know much else about what he has going on. I guess other than people close to him. But yeah, he's selling his very OG original Jackson. So I wonder if it's because he wants to buy something else or what he's got going on. But pretty cool. I don't know how much it's going for. I don't think really anybody does. I guess you just reach out to him and you're like, hey, I'll give you 12 buckets of chicken for that. And I bet an email interaction with Buckethead is probably super weird. I feel like it would be in code, or he would type like Cam Newton types. Like Cam Newton has that weird font that I think he paid somebody to like make for him. I guess I should have Googled the whole thing. Let's see. Yeah, this font, like, I bet that's what the emails from Buckethead look like. Just the weird being super weird. How do you have that much time to type all that too? Okay, stop taking me to Twitter. Okay. Anyway, that's for sale. Thought that was interesting, and then his site even more interesting. And he does all this art too. He's just a unique character. Okay, I wanted to bring up, I don't know, we're going to talk about Steve Vai. Of course, everything with guitar.com has to be spun into some sort of article. But this article was basically about after Dave Weiner left, he retired, who was his backup guitar player for, it says 2 decades. I guess he got another guy to come in and play, and it says that he like stomped on his, I guess his multi-effects unit or whatever he's using, and I guess it maybe shorted or it just the power jumped on him or something. But he said it just shut down, like he was about to play like his first gig, and I doubt he was almost fired, but because Steve Vai seems like a totally reasonable, nice dude. But I got to see Steve Vai on this most recent tour with Dave Weiner, who was awesome. He played a PRS the whole time. I think the whole time. He played a lot of things. He played a sitar, I think. He played keyboard. I think he played. Did he play bass? No, he had a rock and bass player, but I don't think he played bass. He played a lot of the like auxiliary stuff. I think he played some sort of brass. I think it was an awesome show. Steve was incredible the whole time. They just played song after song, and then I think they even did an encore. And I think the last song they did was "For the Love of God," and his guitar tech or his monitor tech. I didn't know you could have just a monitor tech. Sang opera or opera style, sang with "For the Love of God," like followed it and everything. And I thought that was awesome. So cool. But yeah, I really just was trying to use this so I could talk about how I saw Steve Vai with one of my friends, one of my guitar buddies, and I smiled from ear to ear the entire time. It was awesome. Loved it. And I just wanted to bring that up, and I thought this was a good article to do that. Let's close some of these other ones. Okay, Rage Against the Machine to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Pretty cool. They haven't put out an album in a long time. So I wonder if they're going to... I mean, I know they've done a couple of concerts recently, actually. I guess within the past couple of years. I know that I think they were in Mexico. But it would be cool to see if they do a set. Oh, yeah. They did cancel some shows. They were supposed to be, I think, a big tour, and I guess he got hurt, but yeah, it looks like it says be appearing alongside some of the biggest musicians in pop and rock, such as Kate Bush, George Michael, and Willie Nelson. So they will be amongst some pretty good alumni. It says artists are eligible to enter the hall 25 years after their first single, and they have to be nominated. Wow, 92 was their self-titled 31 years ago. So yeah, they're 6 years past due almost. But I thought this was really cool. I mean, it's weird what will be kind of considered rock and roll. Like, it's such a broad kind of spectrum for what all can be put in there. I guess, is Missy Elliott in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Has Missy Elliott been around since 1992? Well, I guess 96. I guess you got to throw a couple years on because it's 31 years. So still kind of weird. I thought she was like a mid 2000s person, but I guess if you're, like I said, putting out a single, first single gets you in after 25 years. But yeah, I thought this was cool. I mean, they have multiple, huge number one hits. I guess they're number one hits, but they're tons and tons of popular songs. I mean, obviously, Bulls on Parade is one of their most popular ones, but they have, Sleep Now in the Fire, Testify. I think, what was it? They're self-titled with the monk on the front. That one has a lot of, I think that's got like Calm Like a Bomb on it too. I don't know what is popping up over here. Let's pull up our links. And let's look at... I don't think this works so well as a podcast if I just use the internet the whole time and then talk to a screen. But yeah, Bulls on Parade. So their self-titled is this one. Oh yeah, Bomb Track, Killing in the Name of. Oh, classic. Yeah. Killing in the Name of. I remember growing up, we had the live one with the star on it. This one, yeah. We had this, and I remember listening to all these songs and just being like, what is going on? This is crazy. So September of 2000. Yeah, wow. Yeah, hearing Bullet in Your Head and, what was it, Killing in the Name of? And it's just like crazy. Crazy to hear that, I don't know how new it was, because I was, 8? So... and I probably didn't hear it till years later, so this is probably more mid-2000s when I was listening to it. But this is the one I remember, I guess, the most of, is this live album. I'm just jumping all over the place here. But yeah, and then I remember listening to this one, Renegades, way further along. Like, this one more high school for me, even though it's, came out in 2000. But yeah, I think well deserved for them, despite not doing a ton of albums, honestly. Several live albums, that's more than what a lot of people do. What is this, Live and Rare? Okay. Oh wow, yeah, these are pretty old. I remember, what was it? This was, I guess, in the 2000s, wherever they were supposed to play at Coachella or Bonnaroo, one of those big music festivals, and they just came out with duct tape over their faces or over their mouths and just stood there like naked in protest of, I guess, what is it? Did they put that on these albums? The little parental advisory. I think they were protesting that. And that was their version of it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what the total thought was there. But you know what? It got you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. Let's move over to the Quad Cortex hack, exploitation, data breach. Basically, somebody, somehow, some way figured out a way to access people's... so give away Wi-Fi names and passwords of some people's things and their email addresses, I think. Granted exploiters temporary access to the email account it used to collect reports and logs from the user. So... that's not good. And they also say it's 3,300 people. I would be willing to bet that's a majority. They're acting like it's a small number. So it says here, small number of individuals. I feel like, how many units has Quad Cortex sold of their, or Neuro DSP sold of their Quad Cortex model? It's probably more than 3,300 units, but is that a small number? Have they sold a ton of these? Let's see if I can research it. So neural. Let's see. Let's just sales. Because it's an expensive unit. So I just wonder how many they've actually sold off. Because I wonder how many people were actually affected if they're just saying, oh, this is a small slice. Is it that small of a slice? Anyway. Yeah, this is, being, self-proclaimed more analog person that doesn't necessarily love these multi-effects units. I think the closest thing I have, I guess I could count the Katana because it has like the tone library on your desktop. But I'm not totally into these kind of things where they gotta have like access to half your information to just put a distortion pedal in an effects chain. I think that's kind of dumb. So I think the closest thing, not including the Katana, I have the Nuix. I was calling it Nuxt for like, I don't know, 6 months, but it's the Nuix Amp Academy that has like 12 different amps on it, which I'm like, love the simpler. Like they were like, oh, it's got 500 amps. It's only got 12, and it's got just like a strong category of 1 in the 6. So there's like a Fender Twin Reverb. There's, I think, a Vox, an Orange, an Engel, a Mesa, and then a Bogner. And it's like, you're not getting 12 of those. You're just getting one of those things. Like I think the Engel is like the Ubershaw or something like that. And then you get an alternate of something in that realm. So like for the Fender Twin, you get a Vibro King, and that's what I use on it. It's just the clean Vibro King sound, and it has an effects loop. All that to say is that I had to download software on my computer to even just change some of the stuff. Turn on some of the like features of it. Like turn on the effects loop on one of the channels. And it was such a pain. The software was terrible. I can't remember if I had to sign up for anything, but I'm just like, that app is probably just harvesting data. Who knows what I gave it access to, just to, like I said, put a distortion in some sort of effects chain. So I think this is just not cool that in order to use the thing, you gotta sign up for it and give them access to whatever. And I mean, I get that you want to, kind of know your user better and say, most users are setting this way. So for the next version or the next software update, maybe we put that over there just based on, customer modeling or whatever. And it is true that just putting something out there gives you more information than in-house testing ever could. That's why they don't in-house test stuff anymore. Like they used to have quote-unquote video game testers. They don't do that anymore. They just release half-baked software and fix it in production. And I'm not saying that's what they're doing here, but they clearly need to tighten up whatever they're making under the hood to make sure it can't be exploited. Because like the further you get from just analog, I'm affecting the signal a certain way, into digital, into software, like not even just, oh, it's a digital pre-programmed chip inside of the motherboard that runs this multi-effects unit, because that's how they were doing multi-effects units, way back when. And there's even a Morley that I covered a couple months ago, probably more than a couple months ago, that was an all analog multi-effects, and it was just a big steel housing. It was kind of big, and it was all analog circuitry in and out, and I thought that was super cool that it was like multi-effects but still analog heart. where, you get this is software running on a computer at this point. And so I think there's a little bit of unnecessary stuff attached to some of these big software. It's like, I know the Headrush is another one. A couple people that I know have them and like them. But there's just nothing like going in and navigating a menu to turn the gain down on your distortion. Is just not, it's not intuitive, and it's not like as fun as turning real knobs in existence on, the planet plane of life, to turn a real knob instead of I have this giant wheel that turns all the knobs. Like, having different knobs is what it's all about. Speaking of which, Amplified Parts is doing a knob sale, and I was looking. That's why this came up a second ago. I'm trying to hunt down some cool knobs. These look pretty cool. Maybe I'm into those, but sometimes you got to pay attention to those diameters. You'll order some knobs, and they'll show up, and they're not the size you thought they were. They're either way bigger or they're way smaller. I've had both. I've had where I ordered, what's the Boss ones? They're not showing up. Anyway, the classic Boss style knobs. Ordered some, thought they were going to be a little bit smaller than they ended up being. I was like, oh, here we go. Yeah, so I thought I was getting these, and I think I got these. So you should always check your knobs for size before you order them. But they're having a 20% off all their knobs, and I think it ends. What's today? The 6th. I think it ends Monday. So if you catch this in time and you need some new knobs, that's where you can go. Anyway, turning real knobs in real life is way cooler than pressing a button to do something. And if you want an all-in-one effects pedal, you're compromising yourself in some capacity. Whereas the government can't track a clone that you bought off Reverb, I guess. But no, they clearly fixed the exploit, I think, pretty quickly. And then they issued a statement, which is nice. I mean, they could have just been like, we'll just sweep this under the rug. We won't say anything about this. Because there's been a little bit of negativity around Neuro DSP. Like, they have to stay relevant to pay for their servers that store all this information, that they get from their customers. And if they ever go under, or they ever get to where they're not selling as much, because a lot of stuff runs on hype, especially in the guitar world, like, are they gonna shut down their server? Like, if they get to the point where they're not making enough sales to pay for their servers and support their current customer base, then losing that and then shutting down their servers is just gonna spiral them, and then they'll just be, bankrupt. And I think that, they obviously have their plug-in side, and they're partnering with different very popular YouTube guitar players, and I think some real IRL artists. Not saying YouTube artists aren't IRL artists, but I think like rock stars instead of YouTube stars. I think they're one and the same, and I think they both represent the market accurately. I think some of the rock stars are more for the older people, and I don't think that those people are using like DAWs and plugins, stuff like that. They're diming their 6 Marshall stacks in their 4,000 square foot house and playing a G. But the YouTube guitar players are, they're way off into this digital stuff. And I think that it could get so draining that we may come kind of back. And I guess we kind of already have, with how many pedal makers there are out there and how many people are making analog effects again by hand. I think that it went way off, and then it's coming back, and I think it's coming back the other way. Well, I guess I could say this too, that it's already coming back with not necessarily mom and pop stores for guitars, but getting away from the big box. Like, the guitar centers are just kind of floundering, and I feel like the people that are succeeding are these popular, I don't want to say reverb stores, but popular brick and mortar stores that also have reverb shops that are also very popular because they have attached onto reverb and attached onto the online selling, where Guitar Center didn't necessarily do that. Like, their used section on their website is still atrocious. And somebody else said this, I think the Know Your Gear guy said that, Guitar Center bought Musician's Friend and didn't leverage it at all. It's like one of the biggest online sales platform, because Musician's Friend was what was popular whenever I was in high school and a little bit afterwards, and then Sweetwater kind of stepped up and took over, spent some marketing dollars and all of that. Actually, I applied for a job at Sweetwater to be on their digital team, I guess their web development team. I forget what the actual job title was, but they want you to relocate to Indiana. And I was like, I'm not going to go live in Indiana to work at Sweetwater. So I didn't do that. So there was my very short-lived Sweetwater career. But yeah, I think I don't want to call them mom and pop stores, but the brick and mortar stores are coming back, have been back for a little bit after this boom. I think after the lockdowns and probably shouldn't say lockdowns to people that like get your video flagged, because those never happen. But it's like those people turned to online. They got a lot of success out of it, and they're kind of being able to revive their stores. And like Wildwood Guitars is one I could think of. Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar, Rumble Seat Music, Carter's Vintage Guitars. Like a lot of the ones in Nashville. Nashville is really exploded. I remember going, and there was a handful. I remember going to Carter's Vintage. I'm sure it's still in the same spot, but it wasn't near at the level that it is now. And they had some awesome stuff when I went, and this was years ago. But they've just gone to a whole other level. And I want to get on that. I want to get on the whole get away from the big box stores, do your shopping at something that you can see the people that run it. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, shop local, blah, blah, blah. But I believe that you should support the things that you believe in and can directly promote, and they can directly benefit from you. And I feel like we got kind of far away. But yeah, Neural DSP needs to log down their software, and you shouldn't have to put in an email to turn your distortion knob up. So, and then last, I saw this little personal mixer for some guy to play in his apartment. This looks like his apartment. Who's he singing to? I guess he's mixing it down. I thought this was interesting. I guess you can control it with the foot controller here, which I have one of those for the Katana head. So that's what actually intrigued me. I was wondering what was going on, but it looks like it's just a personal mixer with some onboard effects. Kind of cool, but it's not analog enough for me. No, I'm just kidding. I just don't have a use for it. I was just intrigued by this, and then I read about it, and then I left it up, and now we're kind of talking about it. But that's something that you could use. It would be awesome for a small band. I mean, 8 channels is more than enough. I mean, 5 is more than enough for, you got vocal 1, keyboard, vocal 2, acoustic, and then kind of even run out of stuff. Maybe you run the bass through the PA. There's 5 people right there. You got electric guitar and drums. That's a stellar band with that many people in a little 5-channel mixer. But it runs into DAWs, so I guess you could probably do a live mix out and even maybe record all with one unit. That would be pretty sweet. I'd be interested to see if it could actually do that. It says all in one. I'm going to assume it can do everything. It might even do my dishes. I read some old news. What is it, April 21st? Missed that one. Let's see. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. That's all I had up. I think most of this is just fluff, where they take one thing that was said and try to make a story out of it. Some stuff I'll cover, like the 80s Flying V and Explorer. I'll cover that in the actual newsletter. Anything that's kind of more of a product, this is kind of the ambiguous stuff that I want to talk about that doesn't do well in a newsletter. It's not like, hey, here's a thing, here's a link to a thing, here's information about a thing, here's the price of a thing, and then there's 4 of those things. That's harder to do. This is cool. I love the chrome top. It's got a kick-on fuzz with the heavy-duty toggle switch, but we'll talk about that more in the actual newsletter that comes out next week. Everything else was kind of blah, blah, blah. Nothing too super interesting. And I think I might call it there. Let me see how long I had this rolling. Ooh, 40 minutes. Okay, that sounds good. All right, I'm going to call it there. But yeah, make sure you're doing something that you love and that you think you could work on it every day and never get tired of it. And you should not try to necessarily make money from it, but you should enjoy something that you put your time into. I think seeing where you go from investing time into something is pretty cool. Like, I sold my first guitar pedal a year ago yesterday, and you know, I had plans on trying to make it to this maker's market. Whenever I first started, I was like, I would like to get to the market, and I did, and I made it there just from putting in a little bit of time, not every single day, but I thought about it every day, and to get it where it was. And it wasn't like I said, I didn't sell anything, but I got to hang out with people, like-minded people that wanted to talk about guitar, or talk about, you know, something that they grew up with, or something that they bought, or some interest that they have. I think that's what it's all about, is finding something that you love and sharing it with somebody. And sometimes the something that you love is a really cool coloring book, or a second one. He has 2, so we got them both. But we'll be coloring on those. And yeah, it's just sharing what you love. He loves art, and I like guitar stuff and gear and news and talking about what I think about those things. And that's what all of the past 42 minutes of this has been. But I don't know, play your guitar, turn some knobs, turn some real knobs. Don't give your email in exchange for tap tempo delay or a flanger. Don't do it. Just say, I don't need that many effects in front of me. But yeah, play your guitar, play it loud, or quiet. If you know, you live in an apartment, they usually don't like that. I'll finish with this story. I lived in an apartment, lived on the top floor of an apartment, 3rd story. I think we lived there a whole other year just so we didn't have to move out and go down 3 flights of stairs to move our stuff out. I think we threw something off the balcony to move it out because we were like, we're getting rid of it. And it got pretty close to somebody's car. It didn't hit it, but it got pretty close. I think it was a futon. I want to say it was like a $100 Walmart futon. And I didn't want it. Nobody wanted it. It wasn't gross. It just wasn't like comfortable. And we were just done with that part of our lives. That futon, gone. And I think it was just too much of a pain to... I think it was the futon that we threw. Anyway, we chunked it off the balcony. It hit the sidewalk. It wasn't like destroyed. But then we picked it up and threw it in a dumpster because they were doing renovations on one of the buildings adjacent. So there was one of those like sled dumpsters. And we chunked it off of there. And... oh man, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, living in an apartment. got rid of the futon. And yeah, so I think Bacon came over, one of my buddies, and we were rocking out, and it was way too late to be rocking out. It was like 11, maybe midnight. And we heard a knock at the door. And we're like, who is that? Go answer the door, and it's some lady that we clearly woken up. And she was like, hey, can you just turn it down? Like, super nice. And I was like, oh, yeah, sorry. And I looked, and I was like, 11:40 or something like that. It was way too late. I know it was definitely after 10. And she was super cool about it. And I was like, wow, I did not think we were being that loud. And we were. We were being that loud. We were those people. We were the people that live above you. We walked around in our cement block shoes pretty often. No, they were cool. I think they were our second neighbor. I think this was the second year we lived there. But yeah, you got to play quiet if you live in an apartment and it's after 11. They don't like that. But played a lot of riffs in that apartment. That apartment is when I bought that SG that I was talking about earlier. And I think I also bought my orange head when I lived in that apartment. Because I remember my buddy Chris drove me halfway down to meet the guy. And I paid $600 for a orange TH30 that I still have. I will not get rid of it. It's not the best amp, but I do love it. And I think that is what is important. You find the thing that you love and you hang on to it. And that can be applied everywhere. All right, that's enough life advice from me. What am I gonna do? I don't know. Might go eat some dinner. I might not go eat dinner. I might just hang out here a little bit longer. And maybe watch some YouTube. Maybe find some more articles to talk about for 2 weeks from now. But I'll definitely find some stuff for the newsletter. Subscribe to the Double Scoop newsletter if you haven't already. There will be a link in the description. I might put some show notes or some links down below. I don't know for sure. I'll put my reverb shop at thenobshop.com or our reverb shop. I will put those makers pedals up very soon. Those are boutique, artisan, handmade by me. Didn't powder coat them, but ordered them. Picked out those colors. Those are some good colors. I picked those out. But yeah, play your guitar, play loud or soft if you live in an apartment. I will see you guys in 2 weeks